Okay, this is, I think, the fifth meeting. We're just getting started now. And we have 5 things on the docket. In the next meeting channel, you'll find the election data, which is our voting, what we're talking about. Up first is the Busy Bee Work Program. So, hi Teak, you can talk about it if you want for about a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll try. It was basically just a program that we were thinking of doing so that, because right now we have an issue where when people go to prison, a lot of children are without fathers and they're not supported because their parents, not just fathers but mothers too, are in prison. And so we tried to think of a way that they could be provided for, and so the parent could still support their family when they have to, pay their time in do their corrections. And then so that the victim also could be restored, because a lot of people don't have money to pay the victim back. And then they can also donate to charity. And then also it solves the problem of when people are released from prison and they've been rehabilitated, rather than just send them out on the street with nothing and they're homeless because they don't have any money or any skills and they just go back to committing crimes, this program gives them a lump sum of the money that they actually earned so that they can rebuild their life and get a place to live. And then we also talked about how on Sundays with certain people, how they would be able to go home. And I think Traveling said as long as they wore an ankle bracelet, so they didn't try to hide. But that I felt that if we gave them Sundays off for certain ones, that it would allow them to go home and see their children so they can maintain the stability of their family and be mother or father for that day. And then also with their spouse, to spend a day with their spouse so that you don't have problems with the spouse being alone for months at a time, and then marriage problems happen. And then also it so anyway, that was the Sundays off, but Traveling said that not every criminal should be able to have Sundays off, so the ones that can would wear ankle bracelets. And basically I think it's a volunteer program for working, so if it's not forced, but it's only if they want to. And it would just give them, rather than sitting in their cell for hours at a time, it would give them something to do and to stay busy. And then it's win-win, because the victim and their family, and then themselves and the charity, and then they also don't cost the ARC or the citizens any money, because they also pay for their own expenses while they're there too. So I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's a win-win-win. So, any questions about that?
I have no questions and nothing negative to say about that whole thing. Even the percentages, I think it's very well thought out. And yeah, it's an awesome change. Good job.
Thanks, I really like it too. So, I guess we'll go to the next one, which is the new chart of crimes and punishments. So this is quite complicated. It has a lot to it. There's a lot there. I guess just look at it and kind of see what kind of sticks out to you like a sore thumb. This has been kind of the weakest part of the Constitution for a while, and the last like month or so we've really I've and High T and stuff have been dedicating ourselves to overhauling the whole criminal system. So this Excel chart is really the result of just a lot of like guesswork and feeling about everything. And remember, all of the prison sentences are a maximum. So they are the maximum that a jury can decide to sentence someone for. So based on that realization, some of them might be good, some of them might be a little low, some of them what do you think on all of these numbers? I'm very open to interpretation on these.
Sorry, where are these punishments listed? It's like
Constitution changes? It's the black and orange.
oh, okay, I see.
So the scheme is that the first number is the number of months, and then the second number is the fine to the victim, and then so the victim is getting, that's how much the victim gets in restoration. And then the third one, an X, means you're kicked out immediately, and the E means you're eligible for removal.
So, what if someone damages the steel structure accidentally? What if they're just like negligent with explosives or something like that?
Or like running their golf cart into it or something like that?
I suppose so.
Yeah, I was assuming this was a purposeful offense and not accidental.
Yeah, this is like an act of terrorism, pretty much. Accidental would be fine.
Alright, just make a note of that somewhere. But yeah, if it's terrorism, then yeah, probably evict them from the property.
Yeah, I think maybe we just add intentional there, so everyone, so it's very clear.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I like how there's only the first offense there, because assuming you did it the first time, you're not getting invited back for a second offense.
Yeah, same with rape and murder. There is no second offense.
Yeah. No argument.
Rape is only 5 years. I guess I could do 10 on that. Because these are maximums, so they might even be like a little short. So anyway, we'll move on to the next one. I guess that's looking good. Everyone's pretty happy with the numbers. Previously, we had like almost no prison sentences, which I think is just a little too light-handed. But now it seems like the average is about 3 months, which I think is kind of fair. It's like it leaves room for like rehabilitation and then doesn't like break people at the same time. Next one, my favorite, deputization. High T and I came up with this one like 3 days ago. I love it. I just can't stop thinking about it. So I guess I'll read it off to you. Any resident over the age of 25 with a clean record can become a deputy, able to collect evidence and make arrests. This will require 60 hours training paid by the resident and allow them to carry a taser, pepper spray, and handcuffs. Deputies are granted a $120 a month boost to their UBI until they are retired at age 60. So the only real debate we had, me and High T, was what the UBI boost was and how many hours of training they need. Everything else we were very confident about.
Yeah, I really like it too. I think I wouldn't change anything about it. I think that also another point that I think you put somewhere else was that they're off duty until they're needed. So they're not just on duty and sitting around. Is that kind of how I think it was going to be?
Yeah, because if they were actually like on duty, then the $120 a month wouldn't be worth it. So they're like permanently off duty until a crime is committed, and then they like jump into action. That's kind of the reasoning. So they could be like at a restaurant with their family, and then a crime is committed across the street, and then boom, they jump into action. Kind of like
we would need. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So no, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, if people are going about their daily lives in this case, then we would need to have probably 3 times as many deputies as is needed. Just because some people will not be able to leave. They may be taking care of a child or something like that.
Correct, yeah. The goal is to have a lot of deputies. They'll be like all over the place. And you can like tell they're a deputy just by like the fact that they have a taser on their belts. So some amazing math is if 10% of the population is a deputy, then it only costs the government $12 a month per capita, because you have to do 120 times 10%. So, and then I looked up the math for how many cops there are in New York City, and a deputy workforce, if you want to call it that, of 10% of the population would be 24 times more police officers than New York City, and it costs the government $12 a month. So, I mean, it's just so affordable. It's amazing. It's really like a extremely unique way to go about policing, and I just love it, and it really fits with like the distributed kind of philosophy of the ARC. Everything's very decentralized and affordable, and this is decentralized, affordable policing. The one question, which might be, is like, how do you do dispatching? That might be like one question that I might have. Is if someone
that's
calls.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, if someone calls 911, how do you like know where the deputies are, and how do you know like which deputies to contact and stuff like that? You could just have a radio, and it like tells the location of the crime and what type of crime it is, and then the deputies like make a judgment themselves on whether or not to go and look into it. So that's like very that's not the greatest way to go about it, but that way you don't need to know like where the deputies are, and they don't need to like have their own call number or whatever it is. I don't know exactly how the whole system works, but
is there some sort of decentive mechanism that you can build into those who just are not responding in their own area for a given number of instances?
Yeah, see, stuff like that is
otherwise
tough.
They're just getting paid to walk around and do their daily life and just decide not to respond.
Yeah. See, stuff like that is difficult. you'd assume that the people who sign up for something like this are like engaged citizens, especially with the 60 hours training paid by the resident. So, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say with that one.
You might have it to where if they have interactions with the citizenry that they have to write a report or write a statement of what occurred, and so you could base it off of how many of those they have, or if they don't have any, then they haven't done anything.
Yeah, if we like have the right to dismiss deputies if we like feel that they're not doing anything.
Yeah, because I lived in Haiti for a while, and their police force is very much set up this way. You know, a call goes out over the wire. You know, everybody who's a deputy gets the call if they're nearby their radio. Half of them aren't, because they don't keep it near them like they're supposed to. And then the half that did hear it, you know, some of them are in the vicinity, some of them aren't. And then they don't really communicate to each other whether someone's showing up or not. And then a day, 2, 3 days later, someone might show up and just do a report because this is way after the fact that a crime happened.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds pretty bad. I would
That's
say
why they work mostly off of common law. It's all in the citizens' hands, pretty much.
I would say that's something that the training should probably address. Like, people need to respond that, like, if they're going to follow up on a call, like, let everyone know. That way the dispatch knows if no one's responding, and they can, like, act accordingly.
Or if you have kind of a system set up where, you know, if you already know your deputies' regions, where you set up like an on-call schedule for everyone, where like, okay, these are you're not working technical hours, you're not deployed on the streets, but here's your hours. This 12-hour bracket or this 8-hour bracket is designated as your on-call time. And that's going to be the time when, okay, if you need a babysitter or if you need to do this or that, you know, don't plan the big projects during your on-call time because you might have to jump up and go.
Yeah, the thing is, people want more than $120 a month if they have, like, designated hours.
Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on how much they're being called upon.
Yeah.
But maybe that's where the decentive mechanism is better, you know. Maybe your additional UBI gets cut off after X number of no responses in your area.
Yeah, it'll be probably based on your house, so you can be, like, on call at your house. Because that's where people spend most of their time, obviously. So, yeah. I think it's something that can be addressed in training, and I still love the concept. Because there's so many instances, you see it in videos all the time, where someone commits a crime and everyone only has the authority to sit there and record it on their phone. No one has the authority to actually intervene, which I think is so stupid.
Yeah, those are just well-documented crimes.
Right. So with the deputy system, it's kind of a numbers game, but the chances are a deputy would be like within, 100 feet, 200 feet, especially in the arc.
Yeah, the major difference between security and deputization is the ability to physically interact. security guard, observes and reports. A police officer or a deputy intervenes.
Right, exactly. So, everyone likes it though? It's pretty good? We originally had 30 hours training. We bumped it up to 60. I think that's fair.
Yeah, definitely fair. I mean, 30. I mean, they need to be training in multiple different facets. So yeah, the larger number is better.
Okay, next up, speedy trial. This one is another part where I think the U.S. criminal system is severely lacking. The Sixth Amendment says that we have the right to a speedy trial, but it doesn't specify any time periods, so it can easily be ignored by the government, and it oftentimes is. So we have this quantified right to a speedy trial. Trial must be completed within 14 days of arrest for serious offenses and 7 days for minor offenses. If trial time exceeds this, $100 per day is paid to the accused. Really, clear, really will encourage fast and efficient trials and a court system.
I do feel like this does need at least a clause appended for some of the instances where longer than 14 days may be necessary.
Yeah, that's if trial time exceeds this, that's where that clause is what that's for. So if it's a very serious case, we might just bite the bullet and pay the extra $1,000.
Yeah, as long as there's room for, if X person murdered someone and X test takes 3 weeks and now we can't, we know they murdered someone, but we can't do anything about it. Yeah, as long as that's able to be extended. But not able to be extended, to the point of what we're trying to fix here, which is just constantly dragging out trials until it doesn't matter, people are dead anyway.
Yeah, I think DNA tests are pretty fast these days, aren't they?
DNA is, yeah, usually, but some different compositional tests or forensic reviews can take a lot longer. I used to do forensics for, it was actually called forensic locksmithing, so I did a lot of fires and things like that, and some of these chemical analyses can take a bit longer, or
should we do
sometimes when you're...
We could do 28 days for murder or rape, 14 days for serious offenses, and 7 days for minor offenses. Because then...
Would you say those numbers again?
28 days for murder or rape, and then everything else stays the same.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because then, you have your rape kits, you have your DNA and all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that covers pretty much any type of long-term testing. Nothing should be longer than a month.
I think one problem might be that it might take a while to gather evidence, I suppose.
Yeah, that's why an exception for murder and rape might be fair.
I don't know, what if just something like corporate fraud or something like that?
Oh, those are the contractual court. It's a different one.
I see, so this is... Okay, got it.
Yeah, this is criminal. Fraud is contractual. Maybe next month I'll work on that article. It's the next article. It might need some help too.
Do we have anything on appeals?
On who?
Appeals?
No, I don't think so. I think the appeals process, I don't know. I see the point of it, but at the same time, it kind of like bogs down the court system. And I feel like, especially with the jury sentencing, I think, and these lower prison sentences, I think that like people will just be more accepting of like taking the 1 to 3 month prison sentence. Remember, if they do the work program, it's 3 weeks instead of 3 months. So yeah, no appeals right now as it stands. Last but not least, new jury sentencing. This is as of an hour ago. So we'll read off this one. We're switching the guilty votes from 5 to 4. So 4 or more guilty votes are needed out of 6. Sentencing is also decided by the jury, with the average of the jurors' desired sentences taken. Each not guilty vote reduces the final sentence duration by 30%. So if you have 2 not guilties, you're still guilty, but your jury sentence average is reduced by 60%. And then
when you say you take the average of like what the jury says, does that mean like you quite literally take the mean of it?
Correct, yeah. But they can only put in they have a maximum number they can put in, which is based on this chart. So,
okay, that makes sense. I was about to say, like, if someone really wants someone in jail.
Yeah, you can only put in the maximum, up to the maximum of that chart for the crime committed.
I see. That makes sense.
So it's very dynamic. It's very cool. Each juror's like you can have a guilty verdict and then put like 1 month instead of 6 months. So, it's like you can kind of you can acknowledge that someone is guilty, and then the juror determines like how badly they want to to hurt the criminal.
So I'm thinking about potential for error, human error. And I feel like if we have no appeals, then there should be more jurors. If we don't have more jurors, we might want to build in an appeal process, because we are assuming that either one judge or 6 people are not going to make a mistake, and that's kind of like a low number for us not to make a major mistake.
Well, you only need 2/3 for a guilty verdict too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Suppose we, make a mistake and we say someone's guilty, and suppose we were all wrong and there's no appeal, but we put that on 3-4 of us to convict this person, which holds weight not just in the conviction, but in what they can do in this society now.
Right. I just feel like appeals bog down the court system.
Oh, I do too. but they're there for a reason, and this is the reason. I agree that we shouldn't allow for these different methods which were originally employed to protect our constitutional rights, but we shouldn't maybe X them completely out, because the scenario, exactly as I said, we can be wrong. We are humans, and our jury has been squashed down to only 6 people, and the consensus for a conviction is now only 4 of them. So we're assuming that 4 people are never going to be wrong, 4 random people. Or in the case of a judge, 1 person never going to be wrong. Come on.
Right. But the appeals is not necessarily correct either.
It doesn't correct it, but it gives a whole nother set of people or different judge to see it, to review it.
Well, if you want to write like a little paragraph for an appeals process, I'd be willing to look at that.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Certainly something worth considering. So we have the 28 days for rape and murder. What other changes were we going to make? Oh, the damaging the steel structure. Make sure it's intentional. Anything else?
Define abuse of power.
Yeah, it's kind of open-ended. I don't know. Yeah, it's intentionally sort of vague, I guess.
Yeah, I do think that I put in the discussion, so my thoughts on that. I know you already saw that traveling through time.
Would 6 months be better? Is 12 months a little too long for that?
Well, I think it can be tiers, because there are simple unintentional abuses of power that happen, but they are still abuses of power. So they may get convicted of this, but should they be allowed to completely change their actions in an instant? Yeah, because they can. But I do think that a second instance should take away their power to be a deputy. Being able to maybe later on after classes become reelected again, but a third time should pretty much just boot them not only out of power, but out of, at least make them eligible to be booted from the community, because now they have confirmed, yes, in fact, I am seeking to get power and abuse it on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I think of abuse of power as, those are mostly minor infractions until you get to the major infractions. They involve other infractions. So, an abuse of power that ends with an injury or a death, that is now another offense. It's assault or murder, or manslaughter, whatever you're going to say for accidental death. But those are other offenses that are combined with it. Whereas a simple abuse of power can be something like being basically a nuisance, or handing out
something like that,
frivolous fines.
Like harassment, sort of.
Kind of, but yeah, that's another thing. It would either be harassment or abuse of power, or 2 different infractions. That's why I think there needs to be some definition there.
What would your definition be then? We would put it like under deputization of residents, like right at the end. It's hard to define because there's such a wide spectrum of like things that apply.
I agree. One abuse of power would be targeting individuals that you have a personal grudge with, or patrolling the streets when our deputies are clearly not supposed to be patrolling the streets.
Yeah, it's just hard to like put every single instance into into the Constitution. It's up to the jury, I guess, based on what evidence they have. You see examples all the time online of like videos of people recording police at traffic stops and all kinds of other different scenarios. So I think if they could get abuse of power and minor assault or harassment on top of that, then it's a pretty clear-cut case, right?
I think the definition involves the definition of their job description. So basically, anything that falls out of bounds of your job description, but you're still utilizing the power of deputy to do, that would be an abuse of power.
Yeah. Would you change the prison sentence length? I think you mentioned 12 months might be too long. But I mean,
yeah,
that's...
I think in terms, of just abuse of power, I think that first sentence is a little harsh. If a cop is just kind of like in our normal days, if a cop's just sitting at a light all day, that's an abuse of power. But should they spend a year in jail for it? I don't know.
That's a maximum,
a little much.
Yeah,
right.
So the jury could say 1 month or 2 months instead, even with the same crime.
Right. But can you think of an instance of abuse of power that doesn't involve another infraction that would deserve a year's imprisonment?
Arresting someone and lying about what they did.
That doesn't break any other law.
Fabricating evidence.
Fabricating evidence. It's a good one.
See, because the deputies can really screw with people. They have the authority to do so. That's why the deputy abuse of power is pretty important.
Right, so maybe a year is a good maximum?
Yeah. And I don't know, I do like them getting fired. That seems like... Because we're going to have so many deputies. You might as well fire them too. If they're convicted.
Then maybe first offense should be eligible for removal of office.
Yeah.
Second offense is definite removal. And third offense would be if they got reelected after rehabilitation, then they're out.
Yeah, that works. I can do that.
And I think also, the third offense, booting them out, you should just give them a fine and boot them out. Because, they're not going to stay there for imprisonment and then leave. They're just going to run.
Oh, no. If you get kicked out, you have to serve your sentence first. Then we kick you out.
If we catch them.
So is everyone ready to vote?
Sure. Any other thoughts before we vote?
All right. I am voting for everything. Hi T, what are you voting for?
I'm gonna vote for everything as well.
Excellent.
So we're voting on everything we've discussed today?
Yeah, everything today. Yep, those 5 points.
I'll vote on everything. Everything sounded pretty sound.
Excellent. Sheba?
Likewise, I vote yes for everything.
Okay.
I vote yay to everything, including any amendments or clauses we discussed too.
Yeah, there are 3 changes. I've been writing them down. Yeah, so you got the 28 days for murder and rape, intentional for damaging the structure, and then the deputy abuse of power that we just mentioned. All right, that was it for the meeting.
Woohoo!
This is a huge deal, because the Article 13 was a very, very weak point in the Constitution, and that's kind of like justice is such a crucial part of what the government's supposed to do, criminal justice. So I'm glad that we've really focused on it and did a lot of innovation.
Me too. It's definitely pulling a lot of the power that was pulled away, putting it back in the hands of the people to better self-govern.
Yeah, that jury sentencing is great too. It just came up with that on the fly.
Yeah, that's seriously just like that. One of the best changes.
All right, I guess that concludes the meeting. Yeah, I guess everyone's happy with the sentencing too, the orange and black chart.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for coming, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.